Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Material Matters with Grant Gibson. For listeners who might be new to all this, the idea is that I speak to a designer, maker, artist or architect about a material or technique with which they're intrinsically linked and discover how it changed their lives and careers. Today, I'm delighted to talk to Anna Foster. Anna is the founder and creative director of the sustainable fashion brand ELV Denim, a company that saved tens of thousands of pairs of jeans from going into landfill, upcycling them into something genuinely desirable instead. She started her career in magazines and worked as a fashion editor for 20 years at titles such as Exit and ID, before becoming fashion director at Lula and fashion director at large at Australian title Rush. Since launching ELV, short for East London Vintage incidentally, in 2018, she has won a slew of awards, nominations and accolades, including Responsible Brand of the Year from Country and Townhouse and Walpole's Brands of Tomorrow 2025. Anna, thank you very much for doing this. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
Okay.
God, it sounds very impressive with all those lists.
It's quite an impressive CV. Was that all reasonably accurate?
Yeah, totally. Really. Yeah. Very impressed.
It's always slightly curious reading somebody's life out in front of them. It's never entirely comfortable, but good. I'm glad it was accurate.
I mean, my life seems to be like nothing really happened till 2018 and I've spent my 40s being very impressive, and clearly my time before my 40s was less impressive.
Well, impressive 40s I think is good. We have a tradition on this podcast of asking people a little about their working environments, the idea being that you can understand more about a person from the way that they work. I mean, we're talking across a screen right now, but where are you today? You're not in the studio, I'm guessing.
No, I'm not in the studio because I've learnt from past experiences that no matter how hard you try, it is extremely noisy and the Wi-Fi is terrible. So makes us sound like we're in the country next to loads of, cows and combine harvesters, but we're not. We're in East London, but it's very echoey. And so I'm currently at my home in a very messy office, which I'm trying my best to fill the screen so you can't see.
Okay, well, let's cheat a little bit then. And
imagine that I am.
Yes, exactly right. Talk about your studio, or I guess, do you call it an atelier?
Yes, well, it's a studio / atelier. We make quite a bit of our collections and our pieces there. I guess you'd say it's about a quarter atelier, a quarter studio, and then half we store all the vintage denim, the unwanted denim that we rescue.
Yeah. So you're surrounded by denim, in other words.
Yes. I mean, when I first started, it was in my living room downstairs, and you can imagine it was quite overbearing. I mean, that was in the beginning. You know, they're very much a kitchen table business that it started. And now we're in a 2,000 square foot studio. You walk in, it's actually quite impressive when you walk in. There's just rows and rows of denim. Then to the right, we have our desks and a little kind of showroom where we have the collection that we're currently selling. And then to the left, we have 3 or 4 big cutting tables and sewing machines. We do a lot of QC and we do a lot of...
QC, as somebody who's not from the fashion world.
Quality control, sorry. So a lot of quality control happens when we receive the material. We call it raw. I'm using inverted commas, raw material, but it's the vintage garments. And then there are lots of small techniques that we have to do to each garment once it's been made either with us or at a local atelier. When it comes back, it has to be QC'd again, and we have little tweaks. So we want our customers come to us because we have a desirable product and it makes them look good and feel good. So we make sure that only if you know it's upcycled do you know. Most people have no idea. And that's really, I think, what sets us apart. So we have really kind of strategic little techniques and developments that we do all the time, that we improve ourselves all the time. And so that happens to the left as you walk in.
There's a lot of we. How big is your team?
Well, I say there's 5 of us full time.
Okay.
And then we have a variety of students from universities that come to us for their placement years.
Okay. And am I correct in saying they're all women?
Yes, we are all women. Yes.
Very good. Was that deliberate?
No, it wasn't. And I think what we do is very innovative. And I'm not suggesting that men aren't as innovative.
Well, it can. It's fine by me.
However, I do believe that women are born to innovate. We're born because I essentially believe that because our bodies change all the time, from the moment we hit puberty all the way through to our 40s and into men, we're constantly evolving. And so therefore we have to evolve our personalities or our clothes or our bodies So therefore, I think when you're creating a business which is basically not turning its back, but really it's revolutionizing the way we manufacture, that you have to have people on board that really are happy to say the status quo doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So far, I've found that the women that have come to us really get it. We don't have to explain it again.
I'm fascinated by this.
I'm now saying this, and my husband's got a startup business and he's innovating and disrupting, so he would totally disagree.
Is his body changing the whole time, I wonder?
No, his body isn't changing the whole time.
Lucky him.
Is yours, Grant?
Maybe. Actually, do you know, not so much. I'm doing all right. Thanks very much for asking.
Yes, but do you know what I mean? It's just like my brother always says to me, I've got a dad bod. And I'm like, what does that mean? Anyway, we digress. So actually...
Like your brother, the professional cricketer?
Yes, he is the professional cricketer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very good.
He would hate me that he's got a dad bod now.
Just checking. So I'm sorry, we are digressing.
No, we are digressing, but I also think that it comes on nicely because actually the way I say we've disrupted the way we manufacture, because we are reworking existing garments into new, it actually allowed me to reevaluate how jeans are constructed in the first place. So one of the USPs about our product and what we make is that the jean can evolve with you. So there are seam allowance strategically placed at 4 places, so your jean can change with you. So
yes, I was going to ask about the seams because they're quite prominent, aren't they?
Yes, our seams are prominent. When I started our jeans, we were known for this contrast colorway. And then you can see the seams down the middle and the back. And then we have our match colors. So it's not so obvious, but now we're developing more and more ways to use garments that really everyone's kind of given up with. It's a bit like we take, the jeans that come to us are really, when you're lining up to be picked for a sports game and they really go, we are the jeans that we pick are definitely the last to be picked.
We're going to get into all that, and I'm keen to unpick literally some of that. But you have 5 people in-house. What skills do they possess?
So they possess many skills. Again, we all have to wear lots of different hats. So, we all take out the bins. We all have returns, cleaning the kitchen, things like that. But there's myself. I'm the creative director and designer. And then we have a head of operations to make sure that and production to make sure that everything runs smoothly and to a timeline, which is extremely important. Then have head of creative and marketing. So bringing to life ideas for lookbooks. I think every young brand or every brand has to have a real visual strength and a point of view and a point of difference. And that's where Martina comes in, helping me. I mean, luckily, because of my career as a stylist and art director, I have a lot of that anyway. And it's really good to find someone that can really finish your sentences or really finish your mood boards for you. And so I have that with her. And then we have a production coordinator and a studio coordinator. That's 5. With me, 5.
Yeah. And making locally.
Yes.
Is very important to you. I mean, when you launched, you drew you tell a story of drawing a 5-mile radius around your studio and you found all the skills you needed within it. Is that still the case?
Yes, I'd actually say it's 3 miles. I think I overestimated how far things are. I've never been good with spatial awareness, I think. But I guess I realised that, but I didn't set out to do that. It's just I didn't really want to go very far with all the material because I wanted to make sure, I wanted to really control that surrounding and control what we did. And the idea, firstly, we couldn't do it because we would have to ship all our really heavy jeans wherever, whether even if it's out up north, we'd still have to transport those garments. And then once they're been paired together, because 2 jeans make 1 jean, they have to stick together and they have to stay together. It's vital. So if we were going to be sending it somewhere where we couldn't control that, the idea of all the hard work we've done, sourcing the denim, washing the denim, making sure that all the notes and all that work we'd done to before, for it to just to offshore it for someone else to manufacture or make a mistake would be terrible because you can't just order a roll of fabric and it can repeat itself. It's not that. The actual manufacturing stage is such a small part. There's so much work that's done before to kind of prep the material in a way to actually make it to the atelier point. And also I'm a bit of a control freak and I want to be there. And also I think we've got incredible skills within a 3 or 5 mile radius of my studio.
Well, in East London?
Yes.
Certainly, because in other parts of the city, possibly not so much.
No, I mean, north and east is pretty, I think it's quite concentrated there. I don't know many manufacturers in West London. We have some in Manor House, we have Poplar, and I kind of in Walthamstow, like E17 around that way.
You've got Black Horse Lane Atelier around there, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I used to work with them.
Oh, did you?
I used to.
Hannah's been on the podcast years ago.
Han was.
Yeah.
So I first started with him, and I think that's one lesson I did learn beginning, putting all your eggs in one basket. But I'm quite a loyal person. And then Han's business model changed and he didn't want to kind of make as much for other people as he was. And I was like, oops, I've got a little bit of a problem here. But actually by doing that, we found some incredible ateliers that we work with and want to work with us. Because I think they see that upcycling is also the future.
Well, it's quite reassuring because obviously, the cliche is that we don't make anything anymore in this country, but we do, don't we? There are plenty of makers out there.
Yeah, I don't know. Yes, we do. And we sample a lot here. I know that the ateliers we work with, sometimes everyone samples with them, but then once they perfect it, then they take it elsewhere.
Yeah.
And I think that's a little bit mean, really. I think it's, I think there's a disproportionate emphasis put on the cost of goods, but then we forget about all the attributed costs, like the traveling elsewhere and, staying overnight. And by the time you've actually taken that, I think it's a false economy to really manufacture abroad. But that's assuming, I've got no idea. You're getting cheaper material and cheaper, like really cheap labor. I mean, to me, it's really just like devaluing the quality skills that people that sew do. I mean, I don't know if you know many people that could whip up a t-shirt together. There aren't many, and there's not many that do it well. So I think we really have to celebrate those manufacturers and those craftspeople.
No, absolutely. Celebrating craft. That's something we do here. So look, this is a podcast about materials. Shall we talk about denim? Mm-hmm. Because it's hugely popular.
Yes, I'm triple deniming, if you could see my trousers.
You're seriously denimed.
I'm boss girl today in my tie.
Yeah. I'm wearing a pair of Hyatt denim trousers that I've had repaired about 3 times now. So I take denim quite seriously. So pretty much everyone has at least one. I think the average is like 7 pairs or something in their wardrobe.
Yes.
Bit of history. Levi's first riveted jeans were made in 1873. And nowadays it's estimated that we produce 1.5 to 6 billion pairs of jeans a year.
Yeah. It's 4 billion from Newsweek.
Yeah.
But we're set to produce 6 billion by 2030.
But it's problematic. And so what are the issues around denim?
I think the quality of the actual fabric that is now produced, stretch that is put into jeans, which...
Yeah, we'll talk about stretch, I think.
Yeah. And also the time that we put into making these garments. And also the design is, as you say, been making the general shape of denim was the same since 1892. I always say the 50s because it's, that's really when it kind of burst into kind of the wearable scene and the fashion scene. But it has been produced since 1892 and it's still manufactured and constructed in the same way. And I think something that's been around for 100 odd years probably needs a bit of an overhaul.
But there are problems with the process of making denim. I mean, the amount of water, for example.
Yeah, into the actual material itself. The exhaustive water consumption, I mean, that really wasn't questioned until very recently.
Because it's something like 3,800 litres of water go to make a single pair of jeans.
Same as you drink in 13 years.
It's nuts.
Yeah, it is nuts. And I think from what I only have reference of what I experience and what I see and what I hold. And the jeans that have been made that have got rigid denim and they probably were used in the exhaustive water way, the quality of that denim is very different from the quality of denim now. But I think you can grow, but I believe, because we don't really use any we don't use virgin fibers. So I don't read the research. And I don't hear all of those statistics. I'm not sold a yarn of, reams and reams of fibers that have been made in this way or with no water and less dark. I don't hear that. It's not really because we just deal with the problem afterwards.
But okay, so if we assume there is a problem with the amount of water, what it does to the soil,
yes.
the indigo dyeing process, which produces toxic water.
And the sandblasting, all those fun things.
Yeah, all that. If we assume all that is happening, that's the issue. So therefore, what does your company, for those that don't know it, do to combat that?
So when we talk about, let's say, for this conversation, we're saying that 4 billion pairs of jeans are produced a year. Majority aren't worn, excess production, overproduction, poor production, lots get thrown away. Jeans are used, thrown away because the quality isn't very good. So it does fall apart. I mean, my son bought a pair of jeans. I mean, another shame on my plight, on my blot on my family is that the only person that wear my jeans is my husband and my 9-year-old. My 19-year-old and my 16-year-old refuse to. Anyway, he gives me a pair of, my daughter goes, "Oh, Mum, I've got a rip in my jeans." I went, "Don't talk to me." And my son said to me, coming back from uni, he was like, "Oh God, I've got loads of holes everywhere. Could you fix them?" And I said, "Do you want me to take your cheap jeans up to my studio and have my team repair them for you? We've got, yes, we can, but actually it's a matter of principle that they've got to figure out how to repair them themselves." And I think that is a real case in point that both my kids have pairs of jeans that have probably lasted about 5 wears. So you throw them away and, you probably give them to the charity shop because you think that's what happens to them, but they don't. And I don't know if you've had this, sorry if I'm repeating a previous.
No. I am intrigued at this because I think people maybe don't know that when you take your jeans to the charity shop, you put them in the container, whatever, what happens? Yeah. What happens to those jeans then?
So we obviously think that charity shops can absorb all this rubbish that we're effectively giving them. They can't. They work with textile associations. Obviously, they take the bits that they know they can sell because they need to make money for their charity, which is totally understandable. But they can sell the rest of it by weight. And that includes, probably tights with holes in it, really terrible things that people put on the doorsteps of the charity shops. And the Textile Association will come and give them a cost, a price per kilo, and they take it away. And, back in the days where everything was onshore, we would sort it into different categories and find a solution for it. But now labor is too expensive. We offshore it to various partners. Different textile association will have different partners across Europe, across South America, Middle East, Asia, and we just send it there. And then when they receive it, they divide it into categories, doing the work that we should do in the UK, and then we buy it back.
Okay. So is this where you source your denim?
No, sometimes we go to some place, textile associations, but now with the fast pace, everything just gets offshored so quickly. And then obviously you've got the secondary markets that it all goes to, like Ghana. And we go to, but then when they go to the textile facilities abroad, then it gets divided and brought back. That's where, when it's brought back generally by textile wholesalers. So you'll visit them. They're generally in the north of the country and some in Wales. You go there, you handpick. Sometimes you just buy bales, and that's what we receive to our studio. But then at the end of that month, the Textile Association is expecting another delivery. Sorry, the wholesaler, is expecting another delivery. So the Textile Association will come in, clean it all up, send it back over to India. Then they divide it back up again, and then we buy it back. So it's just this. And the things that aren't being taken or rescued are all the grade B, C, D denim. Grade A is probably siphoned off, taken by your small vintage store in your local town. And then that has a life. And I don't want to touch that. That's already got a purpose and a supply chain that doesn't need to be interfered with. What I want to take is all those things that aren't rescued, that aren't valued, because I can see a really nice pocket detail, or I can see a real nice hem detail, or I can see a really great material that is just floundering in a style that isn't loved and isn't appreciated and isn't really of any value. So that's when we rescue those. Those are our hidden jewels, what the diamond in the rough, or whatever that phrase. I'm not going to start.
Diamond in the rough.
Yeah. And so we rescue those, and then using our methods, we're able to upcycle those into our collections.
Well, I was going to ask about your process. So the denim that you've sourced, I mean, it's obviously not your fault, but it has, by the sound of it, done a journey back and forth from India or wherever back here.
Yeah, it probably could have done about 20 journeys at one point. Yeah.
It comes into your studio, and then what do you do with it? What's your process?
Well, actually, it goes straight to our laundrette. It goes straight to a chap called Korosh in Clapton. And we do have other partners, as we, we've had to kind of grow our washing facilities because we have to make things clean and hit certain standards, meet certain standards. So then it's washed and it's brought back to our studio, and then we grade every jean. So every jean is graded on its waist, its rise, its back rise, its inside leg, its outside leg, it's the opening of the leg. It has about 6 or 7 different measurements. And those different measurements will help us categorize what that jean can become. One jean could become 8 things, and then another jean could just become 1 thing. Depends on all the marks that we identify on it, the stains, the rips, what can't be hidden. What we do is try and celebrate the really positive things in that garment and make those imperfect things disappear.
Okay. Do you create any waste in your process? I'll tell you for why, because I met a young designer at New Designers, actually, I think last year or this year, from Nottingham University. He was using your scraps to turn it into furniture.
Yes.
Which I thought was really interesting.
Yes. So when I first started, I was making 2 jeans into 2 jeans. But then that was me taking kind of misshaped grade A jeans and it was actually meaning that I was ignoring all the problem denim that was there that I really wanted to stop being a problem. And I thought if I can give those jeans a purpose, then we're kind of onto a bit of a winning streak that we can actually reduce we can put a deficit into these huge mountain piles of denim that is just growing and growing and growing. And we're still producing and producing. So I have to come up with something. So I was choosing 2 grade B pairs, putting them together. And of course I have the excess bits of each half that I'm not using. So, I guess one person could say, well, I've done quite well doing that, but I want to try and find a resource, a solution for those pieces that we're not using that aren't going into the jeans. So we started cutting out pieces, making strips, kind of making these patchwork pieces. We call them maps. I don't know why I came up with that name, but they're called maps. And then we put our pattern pieces on the top. So, and then with even thinner strips, we crochet with that. And then, do I have any here? Then with our final bits, final scraps, we turn it into paper. Yeah. So, and then we use all our swing tags are made from our paper, which is made from denim. And the only thing that we haven't found a solution for yet is all the rivets and buttons that we remove from the original brand. But we have someone working on that now.
Okay. And you alluded to this earlier, you're not into stretch jeans, although I think you are working with them now. What's the issue with stretch jeans and why the change of heart?
I was a real avid wearer of stretch denim myself in the noughties and the late 90s. But it just really annoyed me that they stretched out of shape and had to wash them, tumble dry them, wear them, wash them, tumble dry them to get them back into shape. I didn't question that. I didn't question that it was okay that something I'd paid good money for was not serving its purpose. And it really annoyed me that I was okay with that. It really annoyed me that jeans weren't fitting most of my friends. So stretch, when you put it into elastane, is on one in the weft warp or the weft.
It's a polyurethane-based fibre, isn't it?
Yes, and it's woven in one side and the cotton is the other side. So once they're together, you really can't separate them. You can chemically separate them, but you get left with two rock hard lumps, which are unusable. And elastane, stretch, poly, obviously the more technical word you're using for it, has a great place in underwear, sportswear, totally understand, swimwear. Where it doesn't have a place is in denim. And stretch is only there to convince people that they need to wear it because it's going to fit their body using the same constructions that jeans were made. And they're not. They're designed not to last. So then you buy another pair and another pair and another pair and you throw all your stretch away. Some, really expensive stretch does last. But it's very rare that you get expensive elastane put into a often expensive product. So you have a problem where you have all these stretch jeans being thrown away, and I'm not going to incorporate those into my jeans because then I'm just perpetuating the problem. And we are designing and constructing a garment that's designed to last forever. So if you put stretch in there, I would be a hypocrite. However, I can't just shut my eyes again with the same scraps that I'm trying to find a purpose for. I'm trying to find a solution and a value in those stretch jeans. And the one value they have, the one property they have, is that they're lighter. And so if they're lighter, you can incorporate those into your ready-to-wear pieces. Because at the same time, we were making these jumpsuits and dresses, and they're quite heavy in rigid denim. And then I was like, and the two things came together, and you realized actually we can create designs that are using the one single property of positivity that stretch denim has, which is its lightness. And I actually believe in any garment, there is one positive that you can use to transform that into something. That's what you can with upcycling. Because upcycling is taking something that had very little value and giving it new value. There's no need to upcycle a really good pair of jeans. There's no need. You only need to upcycle jeans that are of a poorer quality or have some kind of dysfunction in them, which render them impossible to use as they are. That's really what upcycling should be.
I'm quite interested in your use of the word upcycle, which you use a lot, both kind of in your literature and in various interviews, because, obviously you come from the fashion world. My background is more design and craft architecture. And the word upcycle, people stopped using it because it had negative connotations. I don't want to disparage Etsy particularly, but you don't mind using it in your world.
If I could find a different word that would describe what we do, because so many people use our words and terminology, and I still need to create, how Google created word Google. I need to do that with what we do. It's going to be like flurgan or something. ELV Denim flurgans. I don't know. We're going to create a single word. Okay. So if anyone listening wants to...
well, they're a very verbal bunch, my listeners. I'm sure they'll...
Yeah, if they want to kind of submit some work, because upcycling is literally taking something that has very little value and then you give it value. Sometimes when you do workshops, people say, could you do a workshop? And then they bring in something that they love. That's not upcycling it. That's just, that's adding an extra flourish or an extra touch to it, to repair it, to give it. And when people start cutting up really good clothes unnecessarily, that makes me feel quite sad, because that item can have a home somewhere without any intervention. We need to do the minimal intervention as possible to a garment to give it its new life. And sometimes that can be as simple as giving it to someone.
I hope you're enjoying the show. There are numerous ways to stay in touch with Material Matters. We have our fair in London, of course, and our conference in November. There's also our online bookshop, which is full of inspiring titles about materials. You can find that on our website, materialmatters.com. Our next major event is in Denmark and is part of 3 days of design. Material Matters Copenhagen runs from the 10th to the 12th of June at the Ukraine House, Gammel Dock in Christianshavn. Returning companies include iFungi, the innovative Dutch furniture and lighting brand that works with mycelium, and Swedish glass artist Joe Anderson. Meanwhile, there are a number of first-time exhibitors. including Cypriot Design Studio Pitt Table, Bundle Studio, Recrafted Design Studio, British bathroom brand Cast, Swedish rug company Katia, and Drop Paper. Meanwhile, the likes of Smile Materials and the Only Natural Awards from the UK will be familiar to Material Matters London visitors. It's going to be great, and we'd love to see you there. Check out our website for more details. You've said in the past that you aren't an environmental activist. You're an environmental enthusiast.
Yes.
What's the difference?
Because I don't have any scientific background to what I believe and what I talk about. But I really am enthusiastic about the planet we live on, the way that profit can be disguised by people with greenwashing. I hate that. And at the expense of the environment. I find that really abhorrent, that people can be hoodwinked by what we're saying, and we're not because the world moves at such a fast pace that we kind of just take little sound bites and we're happy to believe what everyone, because also we often want to make that decision that's probably not environmentally correct. But then we should own that and go, I know I really, really want that high street brand sequin top. Go and buy it. It's going to bring you joy and give you those endorphins, and you're going to accept that you're going to buy that. Take responsibility for it, but then just look after that piece. Don't buy 10 sequin tops. And I think if sustainability is all about common sense, it's common sense innovation. You know if it's the wrong thing. You know dropping your litter on the floor is wrong. You actually know that it is. If you look at a label of clothes and it says it's this is a recycled garment, and you look at the label and it says 1% recycled, the rest, you know that it's not. But so there's common sense, and everyone has to live by a moral compass, I believe. And your moral compass is there to guide you, and nobody's perfect. And we all just need to be 1% better. So if it means once a day, once a week, deciding which path to go down, do I go and handpick an apple or buy it that's all pre-packaged or something in plastic, but buying the apple from the market is going to be longer and take more time to do that. You know what decisions you're making. And, sometimes you have to go to the supermarket and you need a plastic bag because you've forgotten to bring one. Do you know? That does I hate that. I'm like, oh God, but I need to get something. But we all live in this you have to give yourself some slack, but we can be guided by our moral compass and accept those things. And if you think, I could do better, then just do better next time.
I'll do my very best. I'm worried about my moral compass now.
Everyone has a good moral compass.
Oh, do they? Okay, I'll bear that in mind.
We do. It's just our speed and the quickness of our lives stop us from always seeing what's actually in front of us.
Well, some of it's economic though, isn't it? I mean, with clothes, I have this argument with people all the time because I buy very little, but when I do, it's generally relatively expensive on the basis that I hope it will last. But lots of people, they don't have that privilege of spending that much money in that time, right? People buy fast fashion because it's economically viable for people. Yeah,
but that's a phrase given by the fast fashion industry to make people feel better about their fast fashion choices. It is. People that say that to you, it's not facing the issue. That the fact is that fast fashion are producing too much. They are literally suffocating our planet with the crap that gets produced. And yes, you're right. It costs more money to buy a pair of my jeans and the jeans that you're wearing than it does to buy a pair of jeans from Primark. However, clothes have gone down in relative value compared to every other single commodity. Clothes cost the same as they do today as they did 100 years ago. And I'm sure everyone wishes property had stayed the same price as it did 100 years ago. But, everything's increased. Milk's increased, butter's increased, papers, books, everything has increased, but the price of fashion has diminished. And I think that's it's because we have so much more of it. We don't have what we need. We have more than we need.
This is undoubtedly true. I mean, just going back to you for a moment, you're not only doing denim now. There's a linen range, for example, from a material that you sourced from a hotel. How did that come about?
Again, I had a duvet, and the easiest thing is to take that duvet to the textile bin. And then suddenly I thought, well, actually, I can take it up to the studio and we can use it for toiling. And so we did that. And then I thought, actually, that's really good material. It's so soft. Why don't we start collecting it from local hotels and create something with it? And now I say to any student that I come across, I said, look, this is an amazing resource. Don't go and buy rolls of fabric to make toiles. Go to the hotels. Ask them if you can have that material.
So you went to the hotel, or the hotel came to you and said, we've got this?
No, I went to the hotel. Because I just thought, if I've got a problem with one duvet, what am I going to do with it? Yeah. What does the hotel industry do? And unfortunately, the good old Textile Association is their salvation as well, because it all has a weight and therefore has value. But again, you can't just a white cotton shirt that is made from cotton that's designed to be a shirt is different from bed linen. So it's much more, it's softer, it creases a lot more. So therefore, when you're designing around it, you have to create waves and pleats, which means that when the item is worn and it does crease, it feels natural. It doesn't look like you've just got a shirt that's really creasy and looks terrible. You have to develop techniques within that to make the garment be desirable. So
your designs are predicated on the materials that you source, in other words?
Yes. We always design from waste.
Which is interesting because, that's not how most people in the fashion industry work, I imagine.
No, and we tried to do it the traditional way once, and it was a very expensive disaster. Yeah, it just didn't work. It didn't work. I had a shape that I wanted that I really thought I could, and it just did not work. And so now we have to have the material, and then the inspiration comes to me, and I know sometimes it takes a while, but often it is able to come quite quickly. And I guess that's in my late 40s, that was being my gift.
Collaboration is also important. I mean, if you talk about collaborating with a hotel, but collaboration is important to what you do. You've worked with Hyundai. A project you did with the Outnet sounded kind of fascinating. You used years of its unused stock to create new things.
Yes. And I think businesses are realizing that they're holding on to excess inventory. You've got car manufacturers realizing they've got excess in their car manufacturing. We did it with leather. So you're cutting out all those seats, you're getting the tiny bits. And so we cut all those leather pieces out and create strips, a bit like the same concept of the excess from our denim manufacturing. We have those pieces that we're not using. We apply the same concepts, and you apply a same concept, but then you always have to tweak it and you always have to develop it in order for it to be repeated. And, we try with certain materials, then we have to pull back and it's not working. And then we have to wait and give it another go and really think about it. Because sometimes it can be the smallest change in that technique or that material science. I like to call it a science because, we're innovating and we're creating a technology around this material that has never been done before. And sometimes you apply the same techniques as you do from one material to another and it doesn't work. And then you have to think, okay, why is it not working? And some things you kind of give up on for a bit and then suddenly you're like, oh my gosh, I know exactly what I'm going to do with that. And then you're solving the problem. And then you ride with that for a bit and then you find a new material. It takes time to develop that into the collection. But I don't think there is one category that we can't do. I mean, we've launched a collaboration with Sanderson Design Group, the textile manufacturer, that we create a collection that will be launched to the public in August, September. We're currently just selling it in market now. And that's taking all their strike-offs or rolls. Is when you're weaving a fabric, you will commission it to be done in different colorways. And then Sanderson let's go with these two. They've got 8 that they're not using. So sometimes it's a strip of about 2 meters by 15. And they're all these bits that they don't use. And rather than be taken away, we want to rework them because the quality, the material is amazing. I mean, and everyone has an excess, whether it is a material manufacturer, whether it's a retailer like the Outnet that have excess inventory from different brands. And that's a challenge because you have to disguise all the brands and make them unrecognizable. But that isn't a problem for us. It's never been. And then you've got Hyundai, where we took all the excess, and then you had Gabriella Hearst, where we used our denim designs and our concept to create a jean for her. So there's different ways that you can collaborate with people.
Yeah. You are positioned as a luxury brand, and I'm kind of interested in what the word luxury means to you.
Means to me?
Yeah.
Oh, luxury, you have a high price point and someone said, oh, that's luxury. That's what people, but for me, a luxury is a garment can be designed and last forever. Our jeans can be worn by people going through pregnancy. So they have the jeans, get pregnant, they take out all the seam allowance. You can put elastic in kind of like V shapes. They wear their jeans all the way through their pregnancy. And then as they get smaller, the jean gets smaller with them. And if I can create a product that can last someone through that process, and then they can wear it for the rest of their lives, then that to me is a luxury item. And also because they're all upcycled or flurgen, whatever word we're going to use to describe my processes.
Well remembered.
Flurgened, then each one is unique and everybody has a unique garment. And that used to be only at, either of those kind of people that were really good at rummaging around in sample sales or secondhand stores but everybody should have the feeling that they're walking around in something unique that no one else has. And our garment, every single one is unique. But that would makes some people say, oh, well, you can't scale that or that's not repeatable. We can get to a point where we want to be able to repeat that process again and again and again and again, because that's how we develop the brand and that's how we grow. I also think it's a very lazy question to ask if you can scale, because nobody knows the insides working of my business. And I'm not going to produce 100,000 pairs of jeans without a demand for it.
That was my next question.
Oh, was it? Oh, lucky I got you there. Hate that question.
It's about how and if you grow, and whether this local production stymies certainly the traditional way you would grow.
It doesn't.
Is there a different way of growing? I'm kind of interested in.
We have this perception of what is, if there's the demand and somebody wants to, we get enough orders and we're creating 100,000 pairs of jeans a year, we can do that. We've got enough ateliers that want to work with us that we can increase how much we give them. And then I have this larger grand idea of creating this global economy. So I have a local supply chain. However, as we've spoken, most of the jeans that we're getting from our local suppliers haven't come from there. They've come from India and Pakistan and Vietnam and Dominican Republic and Germany, they come from all these other places. So we establish where these large places are, and we take our methods and we create these ELV satellite studios where we're sourcing next door. And then generally next door, you have manufacturing as well. If you go to India, huge textile sorting facilities and huge manufacturing. So let's partner those two together. And so I'd be the catalyst in between the two. And you're celebrating, you're upskilling people, and then you distribute from that. And it's about sharing. I don't want to keep all this proprietary information for myself. I want everyone to see the value of what these processes can do to your own business.
Yeah. I mean, you launched in 2018. Did you have a sense of where the company would go? Because I'm guessing it's a distinct risk, what you were doing.
I was doing it by myself for such a long time, for like 3 or 4 years, that it was only really in 22 when it started getting to the point when I was employing more people. And so really for the last 4 years, we've been at it in earnest. And I still have that. I think when you're an entrepreneur and you are basically doing a path of the revolution is the one of most resistance. And that's what we're doing. And that is, you're always on this tightrope between amazing success, but you can also go the other way. And that's what being an innovator is all about. And I've never thought of it when I started. I just knew that I had a better purpose than being part of an industry and not recognizing those moral dilemmas in front of me. But also I didn't wake up to those. I was doing the same thing, contributing to this system, and then suddenly going, oh, wow, why am I requesting a dress to come over from a PR office in Hong Kong? Why can't I find something similar here? When I was a stylist.
Yeah. I was going to ask about your background, Anna, because obviously you had this career in magazines that we talked about in the intro, fashion editor, stylist, the likes of ID. I mean, was there a moment, I always use the word Damazine conversion. There's a drinking game amongst my listeners that has developed over this. Every time I say the word Damazine moment, there's a bloke in Australia who has to drink a beer. Anyway, was there true story. He got in contact with me.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I hope you're a Saturday night listener, not a Thursday morning listen, because that would be really concerning.
Was there a Damazine moment where you said, right, I've got to change my path?
Yeah.
What was that?
There was. I was working for a high street brand, and, those were the contracts you really wanted because they were lucrative, and you work with them for a year, and, and it was just like, this is the pinnacle of my career. And well, actually, no, it wasn't the pinnacle of my career. That sounds terrible, but it was this moment where I'd worked for this high street brand. I'd worked for lots of lovely other brands as well, but these are the ones, and you go on these amazing trips around the world. And I was on an island, a tiny little island just off the Florida coast, and the creative director was like, we had to get this dress hadn't made it to the shoot, and it went on a emergency flight from China to New York. It then got a plane from New York down to Florida. It then got its own taxi down to the coast where we were. Then it's got its own boat over to us. And that dress was valued at $13.99. Wow. And then they retouched it.
Yeah.
And they were also quibbling about my rate and how much I was costing them, which, believe me, was not a fraction of the cost it cost for this shitty dress. Excuse my French. Excuse my language. Anyway, shouldn't really penalise the French for that. And I just thought, enough's enough. I'm not doing this anymore. I didn't want to work for them anymore. And I was, the amount of times as a stylist, you're like, I can't find a pair of jeans to fit. I can't. And then I realized men have been designing jeans for men, and we've had to conform our bodies into that. Why? Why do women have to conform to what has been basically essentially a male garment? And why aren't we doing enough about it to change that? So that's what I set myself out to do. And then I loved the feel of, and all the, the feel of vintage, like reworn denim is amazing. So it just seemed natural to me to combine my desire to find the perfect fitting pair of jeans for every body. Body, not everybody, every physical body. And then that's what I wanted to do. And so I set myself a goal, and I set myself restrict no virgin fibers, have to produce everything locally, and have to celebrate that we can all walk around in something that's unique to us, because fashion had become so homogenized. Everything was the same. And it's quite easy to buy something new and give yourself a new lease of life. But actually, we should be celebrating really classic items in our wardrobe and creating our own uniforms around that. And I just felt that styling had for me, what I was asked to do wasn't innovative anymore. My days of, doing creative things for ID are becoming few and far between.
When did you become interested in fashion initially?
I can pinpoint this occasion to when being about 14 and going up to my local hockey club or cricket club, whatever it was, and wearing, it was during the Bros era, actually.
What was the bottle tops?
Yes, the bottle tops on your DMs. Yeah. But I was wearing these little skirts and matching bomber jackets. But I think everybody had, I do think I'm probably looking at rose-tinted glasses, but I do think there was so much individuality. Yes, you had movements and like the romantics, but everybody dressed differently.
Well, there were tribes, weren't there, as well?
Yeah, you definitely had tribes, but within those tribes, everybody, you didn't copy or you didn't ask for affirmation from anyone else. You just did your own thing. And then actually when I was at school with your sister, I remember going...
We should explain to listeners that Anna went to school with my sister. There you go, listeners. Yes. Now you know. I've been hiding that fact.
Yes.
But yes.
But when we went to school, we'd have all these parties and I would wear the crazy, I've found some photos actually, and everyone else was like in jeans and a t-shirt and I was in these like crazy concoctions. But I had a very traditional upbringing educationally and I had no idea that you could have a career in fashion.
Well, it seems to me, kind of reading the notes, that your mother was a pivotal figure in your life and career. I mean, she'd been a model, I think I'm right in saying, but she was also a maker. She made clothes for you and school stickers.
God, you have done your research.
A little bit of research.
Yeah, so she was the ultimate upcycler. She would turn nothing into something and of such value, and she wore it and you would never know that it hadn't been bought from a chic store. You would never know. And that really has been my grounding in, you know, standing out, not because you want to be a show off, because you want to have style. And she taught me that from a very young age, but I just thought I had to do that myself. It was only when I was at university and I produced fashion shows and I was there, I suddenly thought, oh my goodness, I didn't even occur to me I read magazines, but I didn't even think about how they'd put together. So after I left university, I had a traditional normal job and then started writing to different magazines and wrote them, delivered them by hand. And funny story, actually, my first work experience was at ID and I was working there and my fashion editor was an amazing woman called Fiona Dalla Negra, who is just, I was like in awe of her. But I was with her for 2 weeks. Then Jane Howe, who is still an incredible stylist, came in looking for a new assistant. And Fiona said, you have to meet Anna. She's on it. She's on time. She's doing, because I always believe that you do something 150%. You do it more than everyone else because you just have to learn and absorb everything around you. Even if it's doing the most medial thing, you can still learn and get experience from that. And I say that to any intern that comes to work with us, or when I was a stylist, people working in the fashion cupboard, because you have all that information at hand. It might seem menial, but you know the workings and where everything's coming from. So you can be a solution to someone saying, I need this. And you can go, I know where it is. So, and I worked for Jane, but then, and I kind of lost touch with Fiona. And she moved to Paris. And then last summer, I went to do a talk and she was in the audience. And I said, Fiona Dalla Negra, do you remember me? And she's now a bit of a mentor to me. And that's like 25 years later. And she's kind of been at the beginning and now at this part of my life. But it was, you know, I don't think you can now go into a magazine and hand in your CV and go, give me some work experience. It's a different...
Well, they don't really exist anymore. I mean, that's the other thing about magazines, unfortunately, because I started the magazines.
Oh, did you?
Design magazines.
Where were you?
I started on a magazine called FX.
Oh, okay.
And I then went on to edit a magazine called Blueprint for 4 years. But initially, when I was there, it was my job to open the post. And a little bit like you in the fashion store, if you opened the post on a magazine in those days, because, you know, no email, you used to know everything.
Yeah.
That was it. You know, you sift the poster and you knew everything. You knew the names of all the PRs. You knew everything.
But that's what I mean. You had all that information at your fingertips that then probably very rarely got filtered up to the high echelons.
No, I kept it all.
Yeah, but then you keep that information and you use it to...
Absolutely, yeah.
In your back of your mind. And that shows initiative.
Didn't you want to be a dancer at one point in your career?
Yes, I did. I did. When I left school, having been at school with you, I went to dance college. And I would think that would probably have been the only time where I gave up.
Why did you give up?
I think because I just wasn't as good as I thought I was. You go from being a big fish in a very small pond and you go to a very big pond and you're a very small fish.
Because you're at Laban, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I did contemporary dance, and before I did ballet and stage, like jazz hands. And I think with contemporary, they have to mold you into this contemporary dance, a very different technique, and it's a very different discipline. And I was 18. I wanted to go out, see my friends. All my other friends were like at uni. I wanted to go and visit them. I guess my heart wasn't in it. And on reflection, all the other girls that were there and boys that were there, but maybe a bit older, had their woohoo years, and then were actually be really focused. And at that time, there wasn't really that kind of pastoral care or conversation tutor led that you could have, because some of those students that were in the bottom group that I was put in, which I was horrified, it was because I had so much technique they wanted to change and give me different technique. But no one explained that to me. No one said that in a couple of terms you can move here. And, I wanted clear goals set out for me, which is a sign of immaturity. And now when I'm faced with barriers in front of me, you have to take a step back and think about how can you overcome that? How can you join forces to do that together? I just think, barriers aren't something that are insurmountable anymore to me. You can work through them, and I have the determination and I think the maturity to be able to do that. And also the maturity to sometimes say, okay, this might not work. But I do think that I gave up with the dance, and I was it took me a long time to go back and see dancers perform because I was just a bit jealous. And that's not a nice attribute to have. You have to celebrate the fact that you've got these amazing people that can have that skill. And, I'm pretty good on the dance floor now, so it's fine.
That's handy. You didn't immediately want to go into fashion directly. I mean, you did like American studies at Exeter, I think. So you were looking for a more conventional career at that point. Yeah.
I studied American film, the auteur theory. I loved visualization. I suppose actually I would have, if I hadn't gone into being styling, I probably would have gone into art directing, because I loved the way you can tell a story just with lighting. You can change the position of a film. You can change the motive of a hero or a villain or the femme fatale or the girl next door. You can just by lighting and color and the positioning of objects between you can tell a visual story without actually having to say any words. And I loved that. Absolutely loved it. And then I got to live in LA for a year. So that was kind of also why I did the course. And I still have my friends from there. And I mean, I was very lucky. And I was also lucky not lucky, but I think most of my peers in fashion were a lot younger than me because they started at 18 and I was already like 25.
Is age a factor in the fashion world? You've started this company, I mean, not late, but you're mature. I mean, are there benefits to that?
I think people don't think I'm as old as I am, which is really handy, because I think you can be a young brand if you're, but then I was over 40 when I started it, and I tried to apply for the LVMH prize, and I was too old. And I was incensed with anger. I'm too old. This cannot be right. This is discrimination. And I used to find it frustrating that I wasn't further in my career, whereas but then I realized that you just got to let that go. I mean, I'm really good friends with Alistair McKim. He was assisting Edward when I was assisting Jane. And now he is probably he's probably the biggest stylist in the world. And it's just, your life takes you on different trajectories and different paths. And I said to Jane years and years ago, when I stopped loving what I was doing, I was assisting her and I stopped loving that. And it made me not be the best I could be for her. And I tried to explain that to her, but I think she didn't think she understood, and she probably didn't understand for a long time because, she's had different assistants and she's moved on like that. But when you stop giving 100 and whatever, I sound like Simon Cowell, don't I? X Factor. That was, that 100, 200%. 200% doesn't exist. But you have to give 100% with everything. And if you're not, I think that is someone saying to you, perhaps you need to think about doing something different.
Is there a sense of what you're doing now? Is it in some sense a tribute to your mum, I wonder?
Yeah. I mean, I lost my mum 20 years ago and she was such an amazing part of and I think she would be so proud at my creativity, my determination, my downright never giving up. She would love that. And, she's definitely my biggest champion because she's definitely in the back of my mind. And when I sometimes feel like going, oh my God, I can imagine going, Annie, come on, do it. I found all the letters she wrote me when I was living in LA recently and just reading them and hearing her voice. And I know, and when I look at the relationship I have with my daughter, and so far, if I say, do this, she'll do that. And if I do that, she'll do this. But I hope at one point she will understand the lengths. She'll understand what I've achieved. And I know she's super proud of it. And I would love to pass it on to her, but I don't know. And I don't think I want to be in a position where I want to force any of my children to do anything they don't want to.
Yeah. You've used the word determination twice. What has struck me watching a number of the interviews that you've done and podcasts, YouTube, etc., over the last couple of days is one of the things that kind of pours out of the speaker is this sense of drive and purpose. What do you put that down to?
Because everybody told me I couldn't do this. It's not possible, Anna. You can't take thousands and thousands of jeans and turn them into new jeans. You can't scale your production. You can't be a success. No, it goes against the status quo. And again, instead of the Laban girl, me, going, oh, all these barriers against me, the new me, powered by my mother me, I guess, said, I think you're saying no because you don't know the answer. And I also think you're saying no because you don't want me to succeed. And I don't mean to sound that, but doing what I do goes against a lot of how people legitimize their production. And I'm saying that there is a way forward, that we don't have to chemically recycle materials. We don't have to take the easy way out. There is another way, but it takes time and effort. But that is how clothes were made for so many centuries, with time and effort and designed to last. And we've forgotten that clothes are our armor. We've forgotten that clothes have a really important part of defining who we are and our confidence. And I'm really determined. I'm so emotionally driven to make fashion and clothes the important part that they were in people's lives. But they are important, but people don't understand the cost of what it takes to actually make that garment and make it really special. So yeah, I think I'm driven because everyone told me I couldn't do it. But also I love design and I love beautiful things that make people smile. And if you can put something on and it's like, oh, this is unique to me, I love it. People are going to look at this piece and it's going to impress people. But also I can put this on, it just gives me the security. Depends what you want from a garment. And when someone comes up to me and says, I couldn't find a pair of jeans to fit until I had yours on, then that to me is the ultimate kind of accolade. And that never gets old.
Yeah.
Ever.
Very good. Very good. Well, look, your youngest bear is home, so I ought to let you go.
He is.
It's not fair keeping you talking to me when I'm sure you've got other things to do.
No, well, it's been such a pleasure, Grant. It really has. and all your research, your terrifying research into very far back in my universe, I don't even know where that's written.
Well, if you search hard enough, Anna. But just before you go, last question.
I feel like I haven't asked you any questions, Grant.
Well,
I know that.
That's not your job.
That's not what it was.
You can. I mean, you can, but, I don't think anybody's going to be particularly interested. But anyway, it's a standard last question in these kind of circumstances.
Oh, gosh, I feel I should be prepared now.
What can we expect from you in the future? What are your plans?
What are my plans? My plans are that I want to change the way people see sustainability, which is now, unfortunately, compliance and tick boxes. We've got to focus on all businesses being self-sustaining. And circularity now, again, has become this buzzword, which doesn't mean anything because we have to focus on circular design. We have so many students that come to work with us, and everything that they learn in their MA and their BA and their MA courses is all about circular design. And then they come out of university with all these amazing ideas and concepts of how they're going to change the industry, and there are no jobs. We're literally educating the next generation not to fail, but we're giving them tools that they can't use in real life. They can either come work for me or they can set up their own business. And I want to develop upcycling divisions with every single business. We're going to have to do that. Changes are coming, as they say in all those black and white movies. And you've got, again, this is why I'm not an environmentalist, because there are regulations coming, EPR, digital product passports. Brands are going to have to take responsibility for their waste, and they can't just chemically recycle it or burn it. They're going to have to think of ways. And so if we can't just think about sustainability, because that is not what we need to, every business has to be self-sustaining. So I want to, for the next few years, I want to be going into businesses. We've shown them we can develop the methods, we can understand their waste streams, so they can create a division within their business. So you've got, outerwear, dresses, upcycling or flurgans, knitwear, shirting, shoes, accessories. Because then you can and also when you explain to them that this is generating revenue, then people sit up and listen. It's not just a marketing exercise. This actually generates revenue. And so that way, all businesses can be self-sustaining. We can all focus on circular design. And then finally, fashion has a future that is not decimating the environment. So it's a bit of a lofty task, I admit. But I've done other things that people said weren't possible.
Well,
so let's see.
There you go. Exactly. Let's see. Anna, that was fantastic. Thank you very much for your time.
And I hope in 5 years we can have this conversation again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Lovely to see you.
Oh, thank you, Grant. I've really enjoyed it.
Good. Thank you very much.
You too.
To find out more about Anna and ELV Denim, go to elvdenim.com. You can also go to our website to hear other podcasts that I've done, to sign up to our newsletter, and to find out all about the various events we'll be running in 2026, including Material Matters Copenhagen. One more thing, it would make me incredibly happy if you went to my Patreon page and made a pledge at patreon.com/Material Matters. For as little as £3.50 a month, you can receive invites to various Material Matters events, as well as getting access to each episode before it's published to the wider world. Material Matters is a completely independent concern, and any help you can offer would be hugely appreciated. Ultimately, you'll be helping to take the message of the importance of materials, skill, craft, and design to a whole new audience. Thanks very much for listening.